Hall and Roundtable. We got a special guest here with us today. You're going to enjoy the conversation with Todd Vandermyde. And with that, I just want to warn you that you're probably going to hear more truth, logic, and common sense here in this 30, 40 minutes than you will anywhere else over the same time period. So with that, I want to get right into the event this evening. I'm going to welcome to the microphone or to the podium Representative Chris Miller, the chairman of the Illinois Freedom Caucus. Chris?
Well, thank you, Brad, and thank you, Todd, and thank you to the rest of our colleagues that have taken time out of their busy evening to come and join us on this very important subject. I think it's important to know that we have another non-solution brought to you by the radical extremist wing of the Democrat Party here in Springfield. And, the thing that really blows my mind is that criminals don't care about the law. They don't care about rules. They don't care about regulations. They don't care about anything. But these clowns continue to bring us bills that are non-solutions to the real problems that we face here in the state of Illinois. And this is just another example. This bill shreds the Constitution. And I know that every one of us took an oath of office to uphold the Constitution, that we can't cherry pick whatever our personal thoughts are. It's a period. It's not a question mark at the end of the Second Amendment. It's a period, and it ought to be an exclamation mark. And that's one of the reasons why these guys should be forced to step down from their position, because they have clearly violated their oath of office. But anyway, that's just something that is near and dear to my heart. And also, it's important that another thing this does, it expands government. And if man is not free unless government is small. And so it's just another invasion into the private sector, and we need to stand up and push back against this radical extreme bill, brought to you by Bob Morgan and the Democrat Party.
Well said, Chris. Thank you so much. With that, I'm going to move to Representative Dan Calkins from Decatur, the treasurer of the Illinois Freedom Caucus. Dan, the floor is yours.
Greetings, everyone. Good evening. It's great to be here again with our weekly updates and a roundtable today, talking about the anti-gun bills that are floating around. The bill that we're going to talk about today is one of the most egregious, but it's not the only attack on your rights the Democrats have mounted here in the last days of the 102nd. We've got a few more days left to get through this. We'll have a new General Assembly sworn in on the 11th, and we'll start work again on the 12th. But like always, the lame duck session is the most dangerous time for the citizens of this state. So we look forward to a conversation today with Todd. Please pay attention. We need your help. We're going to need to fight this, and we're going to have to man the barricades, as they say, Chris. So let's get going.
Excellent, Dan. Thank you. Next up, Representative Adam Niemerg from Dietrich. Adam?
Thank you, Brad, and thank you, Todd, for joining us here this evening. Todd is a wealth of knowledge. We were just chatting just a few minutes ago and talking about this new bill that Representative Morgan has submitted to the General Assembly. We go back into session tomorrow afternoon, and then we go through the weekend, supposedly. We come back next Wednesday for the 103rd General Assembly, so there may be action taken in the next few days on this bill. But you're always hearing rumors about what's happening, what might be in the bill, what might be taken out of the bill, when we will see it. We'll talk about that here this evening with you. But folks, the Constitution is very important to everybody that's on this Zoom call and to everybody that's watching this video here tonight. And your Second Amendment rights are so vitally important to the republic that we live under. So what the Democrats are trying to do, the old Democrat playbook of never letting a crisis go to waste. And we all know gun violence is an issue, but this does not solve the problem. And whenever we have crises in this country, the Constitution must see those through. So folks, we'll stand against this piece of legislation. We'll stand against any form of this that's going to come out in the next week or coming months. And thank you very much, Todd, again, for being with us here this evening.
Thanks, Adam. And next up would be Representative Blaine Wilhauer. Hopefully we got a good connection, Blaine, and the floor is yours.
Hey, thanks, Brad. And hey, it's another year, and it's another far left assault on the Constitution. But we are happy to have with us here this evening a man who not only has the distinction of being one of the most cosmopolitan folks in Springfield, but someone who is probably has the foremost knowledge on the Second Amendment here. So, Todd, thank you for being here. I don't know what it is with these folks and their disdain for the Constitution, but if we just look back over the last few years, you know, the COVID tyranny, recently the Safety Act, and now this, you know, guys, our constitutional republic, because that's what we are, a constitutional republic, was designed to create a balance between citizens and government. It's not designed to empower government like the Democrats here. It's designed to protect citizens from government encroaching and overreaching on our freedoms. And the Second Amendment, it's not talked about enough, but the Second Amendment isn't just about deer hunting. It's an important check on the powers of a government out of control. And we can see over the last couple of years, a government that is unchecked is a government that is completely out of control. And that is one of the biggest reasons why this is so important. And that's what we are seeing with the literally the tyranny of the majority in Springfield, guys. So we're in this fight on this is way too important. The numbers aren't in our favor, but the laws and the Constitution are in our favor. So, Todd, thanks for being here.
No problem, guys.
Excellent, Blaine. Let's play this 39-second video. This is Todd Vandermyde in committee just a couple of weeks ago with a little exchange with Representative Denise Stoneback. I'm going to play this, and hopefully it goes. Here we go.
And are you familiar with the Second Amendment? Can you recite the Second Amendment? Mr. Vandermyde,
27 words. Well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Okay. Is there any mention of an individual's right to a gun for self-defense or recreation in the Second Amendment?
Yes. The people. Same as the First Amendment, same as the Fourth Amendment, same as the Ninth Amendment.
There is not a single word about an individual's right to a gun for self-defense or recreation in the Second Amendment. And are you?
Todd Vandermyde, little exchange there about the Constitution. Bring us up to date, Todd.
Well, Representative Stoneback didn't like my answer, and she didn't want to engage me any further, but she clearly failed reading comprehension in school, because the Second Amendment is just what I said, 27 words. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Not the right of the militia, not the right of the state, the right of the people. And the people is used in the first, the fourth, which are clearly individual protections for right to assemble, petition government, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, all that kind of stuff. The Fourth Amendment protects us from unwarranted search and seizures by the government. And then the Ninth Amendment also uses the term the people. And she tried to put me, I was able to rebut her enough that she didn't want to go for round two, because what she's doing is a well-worn argument to where they just want to talk about the militia clause. She's trying to make the argument that we've written off the first half. No, we've not written off the first half, but the courts have expressed, this isn't my opinion. This is what a majority of Supreme Court justices have said. And they denote that the amendment's prefatory clause announces a purpose, but does not limit or expand the scope of the second part, the operative clause. The operative clause text and history demonstrate that it connotes an individual right to keep and bear arms. That was Justice Scalia in the holdings from the Heller decision. That's not me. And she doesn't like that. And they don't like that Heller has dealt with and foreclosed upon many of the issues they want to deal with. And they just don't want to deal with it. So they want to stick their heads in the sand, go la 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 la, and act like they can do whatever they want. And My job in that hearing was not to negotiate, not to build a better mousetrap. My job was to go there and send a very specific message. One, we're not negotiating. Two, you can't do this. It's unconstitutional. Three, you're going to have problems enforcing this because there's going to be a lot of people that just won't comply. And I wanted them to think about that. How are you going to enforce this? We got 70 sanctuary counties in this state. We have Effingham and Iroquois passing resolutions now at the county board level that there are to be no county resources used to enforce anything like this. I think that starts to send the message, and we'll see if the rest of the General Assembly is going to listen.
Todd, there's more than just one Supreme Court case that's addressed this, right? I mean,
Yes.
Besides the most current one, the Supreme Court has addressed this problem, this issue, multiple times, right?
Correct. So in 2008, you had the Heller decision, which was a watershed moment. And that's where most of this is taken. And then you've had the McDonald decision against Chicago, which came 2 years later. And it reincorporated everything Heller said and applied it to the states via the 14th Amendment. Then in 2016, there's a little known case called Catano. And Catano dealt with a woman who was criminally charged for possession of a stun gun. And in a unanimous Supreme Court decision, they declared that stun guns were modern arms under the Second Amendment. Second Amendment doesn't say firearms; it says to bear arms. And so they found that stun guns were in common use. In a concurring opinion by Justice Alito, he cited 200,000 stun guns. And so that, in our circles, has kind of become the matrix that, if 200,000 stun guns in this country were enough to become considered in common use, then they're rolling a rock up a hill on ARs and anything else. And then lastly, we had New York v. Bruin, and there was a previous New York case. A year ago, the Supreme Court took up a challenge to New York City's transport law. If you had a pistol permit, you could only take your pistol to a range in the city. If you took it to a match outside the city of New York, you're in violation of the law. If you took it with you on vacation as a protection piece, you were in violation of the law. And the city of New York got very smart after the oral arguments went very poorly for them, turned around and changed their law, which mooted out the case and set us back about a year. Because otherwise, I think what you saw in this case would have very much been in the last case. And then we came up with New York v. Bruin, which was a carry case. And that's what the antis try to say. Even our own attorney general these days, well, it was about carry. Yes, it was. It was about may issue states and their abuse of discretion. On top of that, the Supreme Court laid a smackdown on lower courts in dealing with a standard of review. That's what we've been trying to get out of the court for over a decade, was a bright line standard of review, because the lower courts have been making it up prior to that.
Thank you, Todd. And something that was very scary to me in that exchange, and thank you for being at that committee hearing and being there for the folks of the state of Illinois. And something that was very, very frightening to me was that this is the left's whole approach on the Second Amendment here in the state of Illinois, is that the individual does not have the right for self-defense. You don't have the right to protect yourself. She was just flat saying that. That is very, very scary. But Todd, we've seen different, we're hearing about different variations. We're hearing about things being put in and taken out of this bill. We're hearing about a Senate bill. We're hearing about a time frame. You have a lot of knowledge on this particular issue. What, in your mind, do you see happening? What do you see being in this bill? What do you think we'll be voting on? Do you think it'll be a Senate bill or a House bill? And what time frame do you see on that?
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. You guys are going into lame duck tomorrow. It runs through Saturday. the question is, based on what happened with, we're hearing that Morgan's bill 5855 is not the end all. It seems like the gun controllers got out over their skis on this, and they sat there and threw their wish list together. We have made, all the groups, pro-gun 2A groups, have made a concerted effort and an agreement between us that we are not going to pick this bill apart like we've been known to do in the past. We do not want to help them build a better mousetrap. So hence, there are no negotiations, there are no talks. In the past, we would go to various members when we thought education, informing them what was wrong with the bill, would help us build a coalition to a majority that would defeat the legislation. We're not in those times anymore. They have 73 seats now. They're going to have 78 seats in the House when we're done. You guys are sworn in this week, or next week, I'm sorry. And so with that, it doesn't look like the Speaker was aware of everything that was going on in this thing. Doesn't look like the Senate President was. There doesn't appear, in my experience, to see a well-coordinated effort. We did not see senators at a joint press conference. We didn't see a joint hearing. We didn't see simultaneous hearings by the Senate going on all at the same time. So,
Todd, don't you think that gives them cover? I mean, by this plausible deniability that we're hearing from Welch and Harmon, I mean, there's nothing that gets that bill got written. That bill had to get written and filed. And you don't think that Welch and Harmon knew what was in that bill, their staff? I mean, this to me is implausible. I think they know that how bad that bill is.
I don't think they understood the overall ramifications of it. Staff has a habit of writing stuff, and I've seen garbage like this before. I saw a big push after Sandy Hook when we were the first nation to stare down a magazine ban and semi-auto ban just a mere 3 weeks after Sandy Hook, and I've seen some of the same garbage. So they don't learn. They are lazy. They sit there, cut, copy, and paste from previous iterations just because. They don't put a lot of thought into this. And I know that when Madigan was in control, Madigan used to meet every Sunday with his leadership team and go through every bill, every amendment. I don't know that the current leadership has that practice or does it to the same degree. Madigan knew everything that went on in his chamber. So I don't know. Does it give him plausible deniability? Yeah. Or did they let this guy go out on his own to fail so that you can turn around and say, this is what might be able to pass because you've now done this and poisoned the well. Your thing can't pass. We let you do it your way. It ain't working. So the real question is how much coordination is going on behind the scenes right now between the House and the Senate? And if those staffs are working hand in hand on things, then there's a possibility to see something during lame duck. I don't know until we see the bill. Do they cut it up into multiple pieces, which has been talked about? We don't know. So it could be happening in lame duck session that you guys will be seeing here, but it's hard. It could happen in the regular session because, you guys only have 6 days total, 5 days total to deal with this stuff. And I don't know what else is on the docket, but I also know human nature. And human nature is, I don't think too many of your Democratic colleagues want to be stuck down there Saturday afternoon. I mean, when things go fast, you've seen it. They can make things go fast, but that means everybody has to be on the same page. And you had this thing with Stonebeck. Stonebeck got beat in a primary because she wouldn't vote for that Floyd bill because it wasn't more gun control for her. It wasn't good enough. And her own people turned on her. So how many more, of those do you have? And then you've got the penalties on the Black Caucus. I mean, they worked real hard on the Safety Act and their 4 pillars and all that stuff. So how, what penalties are acceptable to them for some of this stuff? Because the case is being made that, your guys are going to get pinched on this more than anybody else. How do you factor that in? There are so many moving pieces on this. It's difficult to quantify Adam's question in total. But Adam, the answer to your first part is they're statists. That's all they care about is the state. They want control. That's, unless it's their pet issue. My body is only good for what they want it to be, not for mandatory vaccines or my own self-defense. So if they didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards at all.
Yeah. Hey, Todd, just real quick on the constitutionality, the Safety Act that passed just almost 2 years ago, coming the 13th of January next week, there was a recent circuit court decision just late last week that ruled part of that Safety Act, the cashless bail stuff, unconstitutional. How much do you think that's weighing in on Morgan and some of the others that are leading the way on this bill? You've talked to them about the constitutionality or lack thereof. What do you think they're thinking about here in regard to what happened on that Safety Act in the circuit court last week?
I don't think Morgan and Stonebeck care too much about the constitutionality of it. I think there are some other deeper thinkers. I think Harmon cares more about it from the standpoint, if he's going to stick his neck out and tackle something this controversial, I think he wants something that's going to stick. And I think he's more akin to pay attention to things that I said and have some guys look into it. However, I don't believe that his staff and others have fully I don't think the Democratic side of the aisle has fully grasped the reset that New York issued. I really don't, because the things I keep hearing, and it was a carry case. It was about concealed carry in New York. Yes, but you get the majority of that decision is standard of review and how lower courts are supposed to look at these issues. There's a whole new test. And that's what my testimony was aimed at, was to point all that out and try to get some people to think about that. But I think that you have 58 Democrats on any given day that'll use the Bill of Rights as toilet paper. They don't really care. They think that they'll just throw enough spaghetti on the wall to see what sticks. And our job is going to be to go to court and prove them wrong. And ideally, I'd like to get enough, black and white court wins that they largely become irrelevant, that their hands are tied. Remember, prior to the Dobbs decision, any incursion on an abortion issue was deemed, we can't go down that slippery slope. But here, it's not a slippery slope. It's a ski jump that they're willing to just go barreling down. They don't care. So the constitutionality, I think, is going to be more for the courts. There might be some thoughtful legislators that know better, but we'll see, what that is. I mean, obviously, Morgan's an attorney, and he didn't push back on anything I said at committee. Stonebeck should have slept at a Holiday Inn the night before. Maybe she'd have had better luck. But there were several attorneys on that committee, and none of them wanted to tackle what I was laying down. And that's what we're seeing. And to be honest, we're watching this stuff as I watch court cases around the country. We're seeing the same arguments pop up over and over and over again, to where they're trying to bootstrap up whatever they think might get them somewhere on any given day. They understand that they are struggling in light of New York.
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
Todd, I think that, you hit an important point there. A lot of these people, it's a combination of not caring and legitimately not understanding what the courts are saying about this stuff and what they're really getting into on this. A couple things here. Talk a little bit about what them pushing this extreme bill and getting this in court. Does it give opportunities to really kind of throw the kitchen sink back at them on some of the unconstitutional things that they've done with, say, the Floyd card? Logistically, how does this, obviously, get to the floor? It's just because of the numbers. Logistically, talk a little bit through what the process of, challenging this in court will look like?
Well, it depends on how they pass it. If they pass something like 5855, that's an all-encompassing bill, then you're likely to see multiple suits because in the federal courts, you've got page limits on your briefs, and there's just too much to argue and unpack with that bill. Excuse me. You've got the gun ban, the ban on sales, the ban on parts, all that stuff. You've got the mag ban. You've got in this current iteration the under 21 stuff. You've got the usage end of it, the registration component, and out of state guys, all kinds of stuff. You all that stuff is packed into this bill. So there and then you got the 50 cal stuff. That's all. Each one of those is something that just takes a lot of time to argue. The state just yesterday dropped a brief on the constitutionality of the FOID card that was 35 pages on that one subject matter. They had two components to it, the fee and the FOID card itself. And that takes, so each of these subject matters takes a lot. Now, could they break this up into multiple bills? They could. How many times do they want to vote on stuff? And you guys have seen that in your careers. So what it'll probably look like is a series of lawsuits going into federal court, because in federal court, we're also allowed damages and attorney's fees. Remember that when the city of Chicago, when we challenged their law, the city of Chicago paid the National Rifle Association $1.2 million in attorney's fees. Back then, Paul Clement, the former Solicitor General, was working for us and was charging $800 an hour in 2008. I hear his current rates are $1,400 an hour. So I would suggest that when you guys do the budget this year, you guys might want to be asking where the line item is in the budget to cover our attorney's fees after we prevail on all this stuff. Make sure that the Attorney General has a line item or something somewhere in the budget. And you got, I'm not for a big expansion of government, but giving him more attorneys might be a good thing because he keeps asking for extensions. And I've watched them ask for 4 30-day extensions in a time, on a case. And they keep dragging stuff out. And if we want a speedy resolution of this, give them some more attorneys so they can get the workload done and we can get our rights protected or restored, as the case may be. But we'll be in federal court. And then we'll see what happens at the district court. We would more than likely be going after TROs and injunctions to stop them cold. Understand that there was just a injunction issued against Delaware's ghost gun bill, which is similar to Illinois. You had 2 federal judges in Colorado issue injunctions against local semi-auto bans and mag bans. It just happened. You had a state court judge in Oregon put on their whole new permit to purchase magazine ban stuff on hold. And you've had several other judges around the country declaring other federal statutes to be unconstitutional as well. So we'll go to federal court on this. If you've listened to the oral arguments from the Atkinson case that happened a couple months ago at the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, there the chief judge openly in the oral argument sat there and said the Second Amendment has gone from a second-class right to a supercharged right. So we feel pretty confident. Now, you've got some big cases in California. You've got Judge St. Benitez out there in the 9th Circuit. He ruled the mag ban unconstitutional once. He's ruled the semi-auto ban unconstitutional. Both of those survived the Court of Appeals, only to be overturned by the en banc panel of 15 judges. And there were cases, people forget that there were 4 cases pending at the United States Supreme Court when New York was decided. There were a mag case out of Cali, a mag case out of New Jersey. There was a carry case out of Hawaii and a semi-auto ban out of Maryland. all 4 cases were granted after New York. The court then unanimously vacated those anti-gun rulings. All 4 rulings were against gun owners, and sent them back to the lower courts with instructions, try again, see New York. So we're feeling pretty good about where we're going to land in the next 12 to 18 months overall. It's just getting to see how the lower courts are going to apply the New York decision.
So along that line, Todd, I mean, and you talked about this earlier. Let's just get this done. Let's just go. Come on, encourage these guys. Pass this daggum thing. Let's get it done. Let's get it signed, and let's go to court, and let's let the courts figure out just how unconstitutional it is. I mean, why not? I mean, I have every confidence that none of this is going to stand the test. So why drag our feet? Do it.
I agree with you.
Bring it on.
You know, outside of just the logistics of getting everything put together in the next 4 days, I agree with you. It's, you know, this showdown is coming. And from my perspective and the people on this side that I talk to, the time for talking, if you're not going to respect our right, if you're not going to respect our right to self-defense, our right to acquire, our right to maintain, build, train, practice, whatever that is, and you're going to treat us like some redheaded stepchild, okay, then there's nothing else to talk about other than no, talk to the hand. That's it. We're going to go to court. We're going to roll the dice, and somebody's going to walk away with all the marbles. And I'll say this again. I've said this before in front of that committee. Keep pushing, because what's going to happen is you're going to pass something, and you're going to end up at the end of the day with less than you have today. We're going after the FOID card. We're going to try to, tear that down in this whole government approval permission slip in order for me just to own a rifle, shotgun, or handgun, or to buy a box of ammo or any of that other stuff. We're going after that. I've got a whole copy of the deadly weapons statute that's got a whole bunch of red lines through it. There's already a court case pending in Southern Illinois about Illinois' ban on the ownership of suppressors. You've got the daycare stuff that's out there. You've got Naperville's ordinance, which could get real interesting. I almost forgot about Naperville. So Naperville passed an ordinance banning the sale of magazine-fed centerfire rifles in their town. They have 2 gun stores in Naperville. There's presently an injunction, a motion for an injunction sitting in front of the 7th Circuit. And it's very narrow, just the sale. It's one little piece of that, but that's the heart of what they want to get at with this legislation. And so they want to shut off, the first thing they want to do is shut off the flow of any new firearms coming in. And so if the court rules on that injunction and issues that injunction, that kind of rips the guts out of what they're trying to do at the General Assembly. It would be kind of funny if that injunction came down this week while you guys are in lame duck and see what happens. But yeah, I'm all for getting after this stuff. We just want to make sure that our briefs are tight, they're solid. The legal crew I'm working with and the coalition that, Dan, you're a part of and have helped us build, I think we're in a really good spot with top-notch lawyers. Some of them are the same ones that have won the stuff in California. They've got a long pedigree and experience in this stuff, and we've got some good local counsel here, and we're looking to be aggressive and take the bull by the horns.
Excellent, Todd. Dan, do you have I was just going to kind of go to the lightning round as we kind of wrap this up. And Dan, you want to jump in here or kind of circle around back? How would you like?
We'll wait.
All right. So with that, let's go to the best dressed representative on the call this evening, Representative Miller. Any closing thoughts or comments?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for being open and transparent on this very important issue. I think it's important for the people to understand that we, the Illinois Freedom Caucus, will never, ever, ever vote for anything to diminish your Second Amendment rights. We know that we're right on this issue. We've all taken oaths to uphold the Constitution, and we will stand solidly and firmly on the foundation of the Constitution, and we will never compromise anything, and you can take that to the bank.
Excellent, Chris. I appreciate that. Let's go to Representative Wilhauer. What's your thoughts, comments, concerns, emotional outbursts, maybe?
Hey, thank you, Todd. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Chris, you said it great, guys. All the gun control laws in the world aren't going to fix the cultural issues that we have in this country, and especially in the state of Illinois. I always say, if you want to solve the violence problem, let's solve the opportunity. Illinois, but that would actually mean dealing with a real issue, a tough issue, and that's not something that these Marxist ideologues in Springfield are interested in doing. At the end of the day, that's what we're going to have to do, guys. So let's stay vigilant. Let's keep this up, and the law and the Constitution are on our side.
Yeah, thank you, Blaine. And I forgot to mention also that you are the vice chairman of the Freedom Caucus, and thank you for leading that charge with that. With that, let's go to Adam Niemerg. Any closing thoughts or questions or comments?
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, folks, again for joining us this evening on such an important topic. Thank you, Todd, for being here, a wealth of knowledge on this particular issue. Folks, I like what Todd said a moment ago about if they keep going down this path, they'll have less than what they have. The FOID card, we always said that that's unconstitutional. Perhaps we'll start pushing in the right direction on this type of legislation in the future. But Blaine Wilhauer, you're absolutely correct. Lack of opportunity here in the state of Illinois. Taxes are too high. Nobody wants to work. And the government seems to always subsidize the unemployed for not working. So there is a family crisis and a mental health crisis here in the state of Illinois. But rather than dealing with the actual problems that we need to deal with here in the state of Illinois, the Democrats propose feel-good politics that is at the detriment of every law-abiding citizen here in the state. So, Todd, thanks again for being with us here this evening. And Brad, as always, thank you for putting this on.
Well, you guys make it a great part. With that, let's go to the voice of common reason from Macon County.
Oh, my.
Man.
Thank you.
You had some thoughts you wanted to say, and
well,
and
I know that
defense effort.
No, I think that this is a huge deal, and Todd's articulated it very well. But I want to encourage everyone to help us. I mean, this is your opportunity. Every one of us can help defeat this unconstitutional attack on our rights. FFLIL.org. Brad, you might put that up there. If every FOID card holder in Illinois sent $5 to our legal defense fund, and this money is earmarked for lawyers. It's not for travel, lobbyists, a new pickup truck, as Todd is like to say. This money is earmarked for the defense of our constitutional rights. FFLIL.org. Go to that website. You can use your credit card, PayPal. There's an address to send a check. If you're in a group, pass a hat. Pass a hat. Take up a collection. We did that up at the DeWitt County Sportsman's Club a couple weeks ago, and we sent like $640. Just at breakfast, just amongst a bunch of Second Amendment guys and gals. So please help us. We know we're on the right side of this. We've got the best lawyers in the country willing to step up and help us, but they're going to have expenses and we've got to pay them. So FFLIL.org, chip in $5, $10, $100, whatever you can do. Let's send a message to the Democrats that we're prepared to go all the way to Supreme Court if we have to. I don't think that's going to be necessary, but hey, let's build up a fund. Let's be ready to go. And Todd, thank you very much for organizing that effort. We're damn lucky to have you here, and I look forward to this thing passing. Honestly, take it to court. We saw this on concealed carry. They thought they were extra smart, and when the court stepped in and said, "Hey, you got two choices. You can pass something that will pass muster, or you're going to have constitutional carry. Democrats, you get to decide." And it didn't take long, did it?
Nope.
Exactly right, Dan. And so thank you. And I'm going to let Todd kind of close out here. Also, I just want to thank everybody for being on the panel this evening. I thank everybody for listening and watching. Please like and share, follow, and subscribe our stuff. And with that, I want to bring on our guest, Todd Vandermyde. Todd, I want you to talk about your YouTube channel. You're giving updates pretty regularly, and like us, you probably will plan to do some updates over the next several days during Lame Duck while we're there. And also, you have a comment when you close out, frag out. Can you kind of give us an update about fragging out and make an appeal for your YouTube channel? Because I know the subscriptions, the subscribers are growing, the views are growing. You've got content there that everybody needs to be tuning into. Todd, close this out.
Well, thanks, Brad. So a couple of things. My YouTube channel is called Freedom's Steel, apostrophe S, Freedom's Steel. It's kind of a play on me being an operating engineer and the mettle it takes to stand up for this kind of stuff, because it started off with me building 20 new ranges at my gun club, Aurora Sportsman's Club. They bought me a D8. And that's where I spend my retirement days. But I think Representative Caucus and I share some common lineage in our former military careers. And when you throw a hand grenade to call out to our guys, it's frag out. And I use that as a sign off on my channel, as that these are knowledge hand grenades that we are throwing out there to just metaphorically blow up the other side's arguments in what we're trying to get out, because educated gun owners is the best thing that we could have. And it's not Todd saying stuff. I point to the court decisions. I point to the things that are important, and why, I think I was the only guy in the country that after the New York oral arguments, there's a video on my site about did the Chief Justice just set down a new standard of review? And in that, he mentioned, why go back to 1791? Why go back to 1868? Why not just go back to Heller? Why reinvent the wheel? Was the crux of his argument. And I picked up on that. And what we got was a blending of that. But Heller enumerated a standard of review, and it's on page 62 and 63, that says, we know of no other enumerated constitutional right shall be subjected to a freestanding interest balancing approach. The very enumeration of that right takes out of the hands of government, even the third branch of government, whether to decide if the right is really worth insisting upon. And so, yeah, I'm trying to educate gun owners. I'm trying to educate legislators and other peoples who are in those positions to make policy changes and tell them what the court said, how this all applies, because these guys have no idea what they're written, and that's why we're not educating them. You can see in this iteration, they talk about exempting lever guns, and that comes about because of, after Sandy Hook, we were talking to them that your magazine ban actually bans lever guns. They didn't understand how. They're getting a little smarter. But the best thing we can have are educated gun owners. And guys, don't try educating the anti-gun Democrats about every nook and cranny. Gun owners, I love y'all. You don't have to prove that you know more about guns than these half-wits. You just have to tell them it's bad, and then we'll let them read it in court and have that forehead slapping, I could have had a V8 moment because they don't know what they wrote. But I'm like Dan. I've rolled up my sleeves. I am ready for this bare knuckle brawl in the courts to just, have a winner take all, and that's where I am. You guys are great to stand up on this stuff. We'll see what comes up in the next few days, if it comes up, or if they just can't get their stuff together to figure out the nuances of all this. But our Attorney General wrote a remarkable brief yesterday that I'll be talking about on the channel. I guess he not only wants to throw the Second Amendment under the bus, but now the First Amendment's right to religion is thrown there as well. So with that, I appreciate the opportunity, guys. Anytime, any questions, give me a shout.
Frag out. Todd. Frag out. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, team. Illinois Freedom Caucus team. With that, we're going to end this conversation. We'll talk to you